Even though the Latoshia Daniels trial is over, she has been found guilty of second-degree murder. There's still so much information in this trial I think is worth reviewing and looking at. Specifically, I wanted to get into closing arguments from the state because they made some great points here. I want to get y'all's thoughts on if you think they made their case, if they had a strong enough case, even though Latoshia Daniels was found guilty of second-degree murder and not first-degree murder. And there were some other charges that the jury didn't see they were able to prove as well. So let's get into the first part of closing arguments from the state, and then we'll actually look at the rebuttal a little bit later in another video. Check this out.
You broke my heart.
That's what she said.
He broke up with me in a disappearing text message. Who does that to someone that they love? I wanted him to feel the pain that I felt. These are the words of the defendant, Latoshia Daniels. And earlier this week, we told you that you would hear a lot of testimony. You would see some pictures, you would see some videos, but most importantly, we wanted you to pay attention. And a key part of paying attention is not getting distracted. Not getting confused as to who the victim is. The victims in this case are Mr. and Mrs. Perry, not the defendant. The decisions that she made caused them to be victims. And once we're finished here today, you'll see that this case really isn't that complicated. It's kind of easy. She's charged with 3 counts: first-degree murder, criminal attempt first-degree murder, and employing a firearm during the commission of a dangerous felony. First-degree murder, and you'll see this in your jury instructions, is defined as a premeditated killing of another. 1, the state has to prove that the defendant unlawfully killed a victim. 2, the defendant must have acted intentionally. 3, the killing must be premeditated. So, what is considered unlawful? Well, what is considered unlawful killing? One example can be the defense of others or yourself. Intentional. What does it mean to be intentional? Does it seem like an accident? Does it seem like a mistake? Your jury instructions say that something is intentional if it's a person's conscious objective or desire to cause the death of another person. Number 3, premeditation. The killing has to be premeditated. And as we learned in voir dire, premeditation doesn't have to be a specific length of time. It could be 2 seconds, 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months. There's no time frame. It just means that you had to think about your actions and you had time to reflect. That could be as simple as stepping out of your car, raising your arm, and the time it takes you to point the firearm at someone and shoot and kill them. Or in this case, it could be driving to the gun store, purchasing a gun, purchasing ammunition, leaving the gun store, driving 3 hours to Memphis to your married ex-boyfriend's house, and knocking on their door.
Premeditation.
So this week, we started off hearing from Tabitha Perry. She testified that her husband was an executive pastor in Little Rock, and later he moved to Memphis along with her for a new position at Mississippi Boulevard, a prominent church here in Memphis. She also testified that they knew the defendant. They knew her from Little Rock when he was previously working over there. And on April 4th, 2019, Mrs. Perry heard a knock at her door. When she went to her door, the defendant was standing there. Now, she thought it was odd that Ms. Daniels was standing there, but she didn't think too much of it because they had given their address out to several people at the church in Little Rock. After she let her in, Mrs. Perry and the defendant sat and talked for about 20 minutes until Brothers Perry showed up. When Mr. Perry showed up, the defendant even told you that they sat and talked for a while. She even took a drink. And once she decided that it was time to go, Mrs. Perry and Mr. Perry led her out of their doorway. And as Mrs. Perry was leading her out of the doorway, she turned back and she saw the defendant reach into her coat pocket, remove a gun, and shoot Mr. Perry in his own doorway. Once she did that, Mrs. Perry looked to her neighbors for help. She tried to get help, and then when she saw her husband lying on the ground, she went to go help him. She pleaded with the defendant. Why are you doing this? Why is this happening? Please stop. Well, not only did the defendant not stop, she shot Mrs. Perry.
Dang.
And not only did she shoot Mrs. Perry, she reloaded her gun. After Mrs. Perry, we heard from Detective Roberts. He testified that the very weapon that was used to shoot Mr. and Mrs. Perry was purchased hours prior to this incident. He testified that the defendant purchased that firearm at a gun store at around 4:30 that same day in Sherman, Arkansas. Detective Roberts told us that he spoke to Ray Palladino, the general manager of that sporting goods store. From Mr. Palladino, he received the surveillance footage. And that surveillance footage showed the defendant coming in, purchasing a gun, purchasing ammunition, and leaving. Mr. Palladino also provided Detective Roberts with a receipt. That receipt had the defendant's first and last name on it. It had the serial number of the Ruger handgun that she purchased and the last 4 digits of her credit card. It's the same credit card that Detective Roberts discovered in the defendant's vehicle when he searched it. We also heard from Dr. Curry. Now, Dr. Curry testified that she performed Mr. Perry's autopsy. She testified that the cause of death was multiple gunshot wounds and the manner of death was homicide. She testified to recovering the bullets, placing them in an envelope, initialing and dating them, and leaving them to be picked up.
Wow.
But Dr. Curry isn't the only doctor we heard from. Defense put on Dr. Bidding. Dr. Bidding was hired by the defendant and her team. And you heard her, she testified that she has testified for more defendants than she has prosecution. And ladies and gentlemen, think carefully about what she told you. She told you that depression and someone being suicidal does not mean that they cannot form the intent to kill someone. She also told you that she didn't even offer an opinion as to the defendant's mental state at the time of the offense. So what do we need? We need an unlawful killing, intent, premeditation. Unlawful killing. Well, there was no self-defense claim, and the only other firearm found in the residence, found in the crime scene, was in a box under a nightstand in a completely separate room.
Man.
Intent. I wanted him to feel the pain that I felt. He broke my heart. You heard that from the defendant herself. Premeditation. We'll take your pick. Whether it's the drive to the gun store, the time it took to purchase, choose a firearm and ammunition, the time it took to drive 3 hours to Memphis to her ex-boyfriend's house, or the 20-minute conversation she had when she finally went up to their apartment. Criminal attempt first-degree murder. So in your jury instructions, you'll see what's on the screen right here. And that's a lot of words. But the judge is giving you the law. And the best way that I can describe it is that the defendant must have an intent to commit first-degree murder. But they fell short for some reason. The act wasn't complete. And that's how you have criminal attempt first-degree murder.
Makes sense. And we've seen this
We heard
before.
from Tabitha Perry, and she testified that she was shot in the shoulder. After the incident, she was transported to the hospital, and the doctors left the bullet inside of her. It wasn't until later that she had to get it surgically removed. It was causing her extreme pain. And by the time that she got it removed, it was poking out of her back. And even today, 6 years later, she is still suffering from pain from that incident. Now let's talk about transfer of intent. You heard in your jury instructions that sometimes when you intend to kill one person, and you don't kill that person, but you kill another person, that is how the transfer intent happens. Tabitha Perry testified that when she spoke to police, she told them that she didn't even believe that the defendant meant to hurt her. But that's okay. Because you don't have to actually hit your intended target to be charged and convicted of criminal attempt first-degree murder. As long as you had the intent to kill one person, it doesn't matter that you accidentally shot or you actually shot someone else. Your intent is still there. The only thing that's different is the person that got hurt. Employing a firearm during a dangerous felony. So on the screen here, it says that any person who employs a firearm during the commission of a dangerous felony is guilty of a crime. The state has to prove that 1, that the defendant employed a firearm. 2, the employment was during the commission of or attempt to commit criminal attempt first-degree murder against the alleged victim, Tabitha Perry. And 3, that the defendant acted intentionally, knowing, or recklessly. In addition to Mrs. Perry's testimony, we heard from Captain Draper, Officer McLean, and Special Agent Broxane. Draper testified that he and McLean were a few of the officers that responded to the crime scene on the offense day. And when he got there, he witnessed the defendant holding a firearm. She refused to comply with orders. Captain Draper testified to the non-lethal force that was used to unarm her. Officer McLean testified to securing and clearing the weapon that the defendant had in her possession. He noticed that there was nothing in the chamber, but yet there was a magazine in the gun. Special Agent Sane testified to the ballistics. He examined the Ruger, the casings, and the bullets from the medical examiner. He determined that all the cartridge cases and the bullets had been fired from that same handgun that was recovered off of the defendant. And now we're back at the beginning. You broke my heart. So I'm going to purchase a firearm. You broke my heart. So I'm going to purchase ammunition. You broke my heart. So I'm going to take that gun and the ammunition and drive 3 hours away to your home. You broke my heart. So I'm going to knock on your door. You broke my heart. I'm going to sit there and talk with you and your wife for about 20 minutes. You broke my heart. So I decided to leave. You broke my heart. So I'm going to shoot you and kill you in your doorway. And along the way, shoot your wife. But it's okay, because you broke my heart. Decision after decision after decision. Ladies and gentlemen, if a broken heart was an excuse or a defense to murder, I wouldn't have a job.
She's right.
The standard of proof in this case is beyond a reasonable doubt. Not 100% certainty, not beyond all doubt, not beyond a shadow of a doubt. What's required is certainty that lets you rest easy at night. And now it's your turn. After you consider all of the evidence and apply the law that the judge has given you and use your common sense, the state is confident that your verdict will be guilty as charged. Don't let a broken heart distract you from the human life that was lost. Thank you.
All right, gotta give him a round of applause. Perfectly executed. Do y'all think the jury got it right? They found her guilty of second degree. They wanted the other charges on this. I could have done if I were on the jury. There was so much planning that went into this, whether she was upset or not. And the evidence showed that clearly. I want to know what y'all think in the comments and in the chat.